Ever wish you could just peek right inside the mind of like a Roman emperor?
See what they were really thinking?
Yeah, not the official stuff, the speeches and the decrees and all that.
Right behind the curtain, so to speak.
Exactly.
Eh.
Well, today we're going to do just that with Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
This is his personal journal, not meant for anyone else's eyes.
Like total honesty, raw, unfiltered thoughts.
And what's amazing is he wasn't just any emperor,
Oh, yeah. This guy was also grappling with some serious philosophy, Stoicism,
which, if you haven't encountered it before, it's basically this really practical framework.
for dealing with life's curveballs.
Yeah, like reason and resilience in the face of chaos.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Mhm.
So let's dive in. One of the first things that hits you when you read Aurelius is his focus on death.
Oh, yeah, he just comes right out and says, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think.
Whoa, that's kind of intense first thing in the morning.
Right, it's meant to be a wake-up call.
Not in a morbid way, though.
No, not at all. For Stoics, death wasn't something to fear.
It was like fuel for living.
Exactly, it makes you appreciate the present moment.
Makes you think about what really matters.
Because you don't have forever.
I can see how that would be motivating, but wouldn't it also be kind of paralyzing?
How do you mean?
Well, if I'm constantly thinking I could die at any moment,
Ah, I see what you're saying.
would I ever get anything done?
That's where the Stoic emphasis on action comes in.
So it's not just about dwelling on death.
Not at all. It's about using that awareness to clarify your values.
So what do you do? What do you say? What do you think?
And Meditations is fascinating because it's not a self-help book. It's more like we're watching Aurelius figure it out in real time.
And by watching him wrestle with these questions,
We start to ask them ourselves.
I like that.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on to something a little more, well, less existential.
Sure.
What about all the difficult people we have to deal with?
Oh, Aurelius had plenty to say about that.
Like,
Well, there's this one line where he talks about waking up and telling yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant.
that sounds like you worked in an office, too.
But here's the thing. He's not advocating for just putting up with bad behavior.
So what's the Stoic approach then?
It's about anticipating negativity.
Like expecting it so it doesn't throw you off?
Exactly. You're not surprised. You don't let it derail you.
So it's almost like pre-planning your emotional response.
In a way, yes.
Okay, so let's say I know my boss tends to micromanage instead of getting frustrated every time.
Right.
Maybe I go in knowing it's going to happen,
And
and then I can focus on the parts of my work that I can control.
there you go. That's Stoicism in action.
Choosing your battles.
Exactly.
And speaking of battles, Aurelius obviously had to deal with a lot of those as emperor.
Oh, yeah. Leading an empire is no easy task.
But he had this interesting perspective on obstacles.
What was that?
He said, the impediment to action advances action.
Mm-hmm.
What stands in the way becomes the way.
Ah, yes. That's one of his most famous quotes.
So was he saying he actually enjoyed obstacles?
Not enjoy necessarily, but he did see their potential.
How so?
Well, it goes back to that Stoic idea of reframing.
Okay.
The obstacle isn't the end. It's a chance to get creative to test your limits.
To find a new way forward.
Exactly. And if you think about it, Aurelius was writing Meditations while running an empire.
He must have been incredibly busy.
Exactly. So it puts our own complaints about being busy in perspective.
If he could find time to reflect and write amidst all that chaos,
Maybe we can too.
it's almost like he's saying our limits can reveal our hidden strengths.
I think that's a great way to put it.
And what's really incredible is that even though Meditations was written by an emperor almost 2,000 years ago,
It still feels so relevant today.
why do you think that is?
I think it's because Aurelius is dealing with universal human experiences.
Stress, relationships, purpose.
Exactly. Those things haven't changed that much.
And the way he writes is so relatable too,
Short, concise entries.
like little bursts of wisdom.
You don't need a philosophy degree to understand it.
It's very accessible.
Absolutely.
Though one thing that did surprise me was that he wrote Meditations in Greek.
Hi.
You'd think a Roman emperor would write in Latin.
You would, but it shows his deep respect for Greek culture.
He saw it as the foundation of philosophy.
Exactly.
Fascinating. So if we were to try to sum up Meditations, what would you say are the key takeaways?
That's a good question.
What are the big ideas?
Well, first, I think there's that idea that awareness of death can actually be a catalyst for living a better life.
Okay.
Then there's the emphasis on inner peace,
That it's a choice we make.
regardless of our external circumstances.
And finally, that obstacles are actually opportunities in disguise.
That's a great summary.
So to wrap things up, I'd like to leave our listeners with a question.
Okay.
If Aurelius is right, and any moment could be our last,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do differently? How can you bring that Stoic sense of calm and focus into your own life starting today?